Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Yo, what's good, yo? It's your boy LJ, and welcome back to Reaction LJ. Today we dive into some straight up chill terrified. This video's right here, the adopted daughter who brutally killed her new sibling for attention. Yeah, that title alone sounds like a real life horror movie, but this ain't faction. This really happened. So buckle up, grab some snacks, or maybe don't. And let's get into this crazy story.
These were the harrowing scenes after an adopted daughter brutally attacked and murdered her siblings. Blood covered the floors of what was once a happy home. Every inch of it stained with the horror of what had just unfolded. And the most chilling part, this wasn't some random act of rage. This was planned, personal.
It wasn't, but I want to know, like, how the adopted daughter that y'all brought into your house,
given a second chance at family, at love.
Go and
that
murder
wasn't
y'all.
enough. She didn't just want to belong. She wanted to replace.
Kids.
And on that fateful December afternoon, she made sure of it. But what she did after, that's where things get even darker.
I'm sorry, Chad, why I'm pausing this so early, but I gotta say this. I actually gotta say this, right? Would it give her the right to kill somebody's actual kids? Like, you did this because you want to have a family of your own, and you don't want nobody to, like, take that family from it. But plus side, they've been already born into that family, and you jealous because they get to have parents, and your parents probably didn't want you, or your parents abandoned you, or your parents probably died, and you just felt like it was all your fault, and you just want that love. That was going on.
December 10th, 2021 started like any other, but it ended in unimaginable horror. Cruz Magad, a 48-year-old school teacher, was going about his routine when he got a chilling phone call from a neighbor. Something strange was happening at his house. His stomach dropped. His wife, Lavella, was out of town for work, and their kids, 18-year-old Crizzle Gwyn and 16-year-old Cruzel Louis, or Boy Boy, and their recently adopted daughter, Janice Sabiel, were all at home alone. None of them had called him, which increased his worry. Cruz wasted no time. He raced home, pulling up at exactly 8:15 p.m. But the second he stepped out of the car, they probably have some fun playing some video game or something like that. Something was not right. The air was too quiet.
Right?
And then he saw it. A red-soaked blanket on the ground.
What happened?
Kids, and there was no answer. Inside, the nightmare came to life. Gwen lay lifeless, her body brutally slashed, her head wrapped tightly in a towel. Nearby, Boy, hands and feet bound, gagged, and knifed over and over. Whoever did this had just been there. But one person was missing, Janet.
You can't say it wasn't Janet. You can, if them three were the only people in that house, right? There was no aunt, no uncle, nobody in the house, just them three. Then you can't say it wasn't Janet. You can't say it wasn't her. Because you gotta think, if them two dead and Janet gone and nowhere to be found, then you know she really killed them. Then she left everything right there and she ran before the dad ever came to the house, because if she didn't leave, the dad would already assume that she the one who didn't.
Cruz's panic spiraled as he tore through the house, calling her name, and then finally she appeared. Janice stepped out, hair still damp, face pale. She was trembling, barely able to speak. And that's when it hit him.
She was
Why
scared.
had she just taken
She was
a shower
scared.
while her siblings lay butchered
she
on the
didn't.
floor? The
That's
thought was
why
unsettling,
I was
but
trembling.
he pushed it
I was
aside and
shaking.
called the police.
That's why her whole
Nothing
body
could have prepared
was
the
shaking
officers for what they were
inside
about
her.
to walk
She was
into.
scared.
Inside the house, it was
She
pure
knew what she did.
carnage. One of the most gruesome scenes in Philippine history. Near the front door, a broken knife lay on the ground. Its blade, slick with gore, shattered glass, and broken bottles were scattered across the living room floor. Pools of red, thick,
Like
dark,
she know
and everywhere
what
made it
happened.
clear. This
And the
was
blood
not
side,
just a murder. This
three
was
were
a
the only
massacre.
people
And then
in
there
that
were
house.
the weapons.
So
A
there's no
machete,
way
a baseball
anybody
bat,
else
a
could come
hammer,
in that
all
house,
drenched
kill
in
them,
blood,
and
all
then
presumed
leave
to have been used
that
in the
quick.
brutal killings. The autopsy
Like,
only made things
no
worse.
way.
Gwen suffered
The-
32 jab
the
and
crazy
slash wounds,
part about
some
it,
so
Jen
deep they nearly severed
never
her
hurt
limbs. Her
or
ear
harm.
gone,
So
her
you
neck and
can
upper
tell-
arm nearly hacked
you can
off.
tell
She had been
who-
in her
if-
body bearing the
if somebody did
unmistakable
came there,
imprint of the
then-
hammer and
then
bat
you
found
probably
at the
have
scene.
vital
But the
marks,
most
something-
gut-wrenching
something,
detail,
or
her
you
hands,
immediately call
purple,
911.
swollen,
Like, come on,
torn
if someone
apart by
with
defensive
there,
wounds.
then
She
one of them will
desperately
immediately
fought
call
for her
911 or
life.
something.
Louise suffered even worse. 51 knife wounds, some so deep they exposed his bones.
Oh my god.
Marks around his neck suggested he may have been.
Yo!
Unlike his sister, Louis
You
didn't
killed
fight back
boy
because he
worse
couldn't. There
than
wasn't a
his
single
sister.
defensive
Like,
wound
you
on his
stabbed-
body,
you
and that
killed
raised
him
the most
until
unsettling
his
question of
skin
all:
will-
why?
all
And
you
why
see
was
is
Janice
that-
the only witness
Wow.
completely unharmed? To understand that, we have to go back
Yeah.
to the beginning.
Yeah, you gotta understand. How is she
In
unharmed?
September 2013,
but
a
the
woman came
boy and the
across
girl
a young girl, just 8 years old, alone
stabbed
on
way
a ship.
worse, but
Concerned, she
she
asked the
never
girl
got
where her
hurt.
parents were, but the child had no answers, no memories, nothing except her name, Janice Sabille. Worried, the woman
Right.
snapped a picture of Janice and posted it online, hoping someone would come forward to claim her, but no one did. With no family stepping up, Janice was declared an orphan and placed under the care of the Department of Social Welfare. Years passed. As a teenager, she was taken in as a live-in nanny by a couple with 2 young children. This couple happened to be close friends with another family, the Magods. At 17, Janice frequently attended events with her employers, which is how she met Gwen Magod. From the moment they met, the bond was undeniable. Gwen was just a year older and instantly clicked with Janice. And it wasn't too long before Louis, their 16-year-old brother, welcomed her into their circle too. Their friendship played out on social media, TikToks of them laughing, dancing, and just being carefree teenagers.
Yeah.
To the outside world, they looked like the
they were a
closest
nice,
of
happy
friends.
family.
But something wasn't
Open
right.
arm
Janice
and
opened up to
open
Gwen,
love.
pouring out her
Right?
life story. The kind of past that weighed heavy on a person. She talked about growing up in extreme poverty, bouncing between orphanages after her parents died, and the constant struggle of balancing school with a demanding job.
Chat, I told y'all, she probably doing it because her parents died, and she just want have that attention of the family love. But how you boy have that attention of family love if you're doing this? Like the whole family even open you up. The sibling, literally had you like you been part of the family and you been like one of them. So for you to do something like this and not like you trying to be a part of family.
Had dreams of going to university, but the fear of turning 18 and losing government support loomed over her like a dark cloud. Gwen couldn't just sit back and do nothing. It wasn't in her nature. She and Louis begged their parents to adopt Janice, to give her a real home and a real family. Their parents hesitated. They didn't have much. Cruz was a teacher, Lavella a head teacher. Money was already tight. They didn't even have a spare room. But Gwen didn't care about any of that. She was willing to give up her own bedroom if it meant Janice would finally have a place to belong. Because that's just the kind of person Gwen was. That's just the kind of family the Magods were. Selfless, kind-hearted, always willing to help. By July 2021, the Magods had officially adopted Janice. She took their last name, and she was finally a part of the family. But just 5 months later, that family was gone. According to Janice, the nightmare began at 2:48 p.m. She said she was in a shared bedroom with Gwen studying.
So
while Louis
it was 5
downstairs.
months
Then
later,
out of nowhere they heard
after
screams. She claimed 3 men had broken in, armed with the very weapon they launched a relentless attack on Louis. When the girls ran downstairs, the intruders turned on Gwen next, while Janice ran back upstairs, locked herself in a bedroom, and hid under the bed. She was too scared to make a sound or even call the police. Instead, she texted the family group chat, but no one responded. So at 3 p.m., just 12 minutes later, she did something that sent chills down the spines of everyone who saw it. She posted on Facebook, "Help me, guys, help me, please. Someone entered the house. I don't want to die yet. I am inside the room hiding. Help." She deleted the post just minutes after making it, fearing that the attackers would see it and know where she was hiding. She tried calling her mother, desperate for help, but no one picked up. It wasn't until someone else saw her Facebook post and contacted her mother that she finally called Janice back. By then, Janice was too scared to answer. She changed her social media username, put her phone on silent, and stayed hidden. When the house finally went quiet, Janice emerged from her hiding spot. But instead of running downstairs to check on her siblings or call the police, she took a shower and changed her clothes. She claimed it was to calm herself.
Normal killer would take a shower, right, to get all the blood, the stain, and all the bacteria off them after doing a murder or a kill, right? So for you to just go and say you're taking a shower to calm the nerve, it would be stupid. You tell me you're taking a shower to calm your nerve? Wow.
Something about that didn't sit right. Janice's story was shaky at best, but what really made detectives pause was how this crime went down. Because why would 3 random men break in, Gwen and Louis in such a violent, personal way, and then just leave? Nothing was stolen, no cash, no jewelry, no electronics, except for Gwen's phone. And then there was the front door. It had been locked from the inside. There was no sign of forced entry, no broken windows, no busted locks. There wasn't a chaotic break-in. This was controlled. Which meant that whoever did this wasn't just some stranger off the street. They had access. They had a key. And they knew exactly what they were doing. That narrowed down the suspect pool real fast. Cruz, he was miles away, completely accounted for, while Lavella was on a business trip, nowhere near the house. Then there was Janice, the only one who was there, the one whose story kept falling apart. When forensic findings came in, everything got even darker. Analysts examined the blood patterns and realized Gwen was killed first. Her blood had already started to thicken and rigor mortis was setting in. But Louis, his blood was fresh. That meant he died after his sister, which directly contradicted Janice's version of events. Then there was the way that the bodies were positioned. Louis' hands and feet were bound. Gwen's weren't. This told the detectives something chilling. Gwen was likely ambushed and taken out quickly, but Louis, he was restrained, probably so he couldn't fight back before he met the same fate. Another disturbing detail was the sheer number of murder weapons used in the attack. A hammer, a machete, a baseball bat, and a kitchen knife.
Why would you do that? What is the matter with you people?
Tucked away in his bedroom closet. How would 3 strangers know exactly where to find these weapons in the middle of a supposed break-in? And then there was the Facebook post. The words alone were haunting, but detectives couldn't ignore one strange detail. Janice had added 3 crying emojis at the end. Who stops to add emojis in a life or death situation? Detectives knew something wasn't right, so they sat down with Cruz and Lavella, hoping to get a clearer picture of Janice's life in the house. They revealed that Janice never truly adjusted to life with them. In fact, not long after she moved in, she was caught stealing. $200 had gone missing, and while the family frantically searched for it, Louis made a disturbing discovery. Inside Janice's backpack was a secret compartment stitched by hand, a hidden pocket designed specifically to stash stolen money. When they confronted her, Janice broke down in tears and swore she was sorry. Cruz and Lavella, being the understanding people they were, forgave her. As teachers, they knew that kids from rough backgrounds sometimes took time to adjust. Even in safe environments, the survival instincts they grew up with didn't just disappear overnight. The gods were patient, believing that Janice only needed time, but their patience and kindness were wasted on the wrong person. Because as detectives peeled back the layers of Janice's past, they discovered something far more disturbing. Turns out,
that is 100% untrue.
She was not some lost, abandoned child with no memories of her past. Janice had a family. Her parents, Michelle and Juanito Seabell, were very much alive. And she wasn't an only child, she had 3 siblings. Imagine the shockwaves this revelation sent through the Philippines, especially after the brutal murders of Gwen and Louis. Reporters wasted no time tracking down Michelle. And when they did, she did not hold back. She revealed that her ex-husband, Juanito, was a deadbeat. He spent his days gambling, drinking, and doing nothing to support their children. They lived in extreme poverty, surviving on whatever scraps they could find. Michelle had finally had enough. She packed up, left Juanito, and went to Manila, where she found work as a housekeeper. She didn't want to leave her kids, but she had no choice. Janice, left behind with her father, disappeared shortly after. Now, whether Juanito abandoned her that day in September or she ran away on her own, that part remains a mystery. But here's the thing. Janice didn't completely cut ties with her past. By the time she was officially adopted in 2020, she had already reconnected with her biological family. But that reunion did not last long. Her relatives later claimed that Janice was the one who walked away, turning her back on them because they were too poor to be of any use to her. This wasn't the heartbreaking story.
You tell me you left your family because they were too poor and you needed more? Wow. It's just like gold digger and rich people. It's like when a girl go and date a poor guy and the poor guy can't satisfy their needs, they go and leave the poor guy for a rich guy. And then when the poor guy actually get money or actually make something of themselves, then they're gonna slide back in and say, "Hey, I'm sorry." Like that was Jen doing to her family.
She had fed to the Magods. Janice didn't forget where she came from. She just rewrote the narrative. And with every lie piling up, investigators had to wonder, what else was she hiding? Did she really have no idea who killed Gwen and Louis? Or was she more involved than she was letting on? Authorities were not taking any chances. Just days after the crime, Janice wasn't just a witness anymore. She was officially a suspect. They secured a warrant to search the house again, and what they found changed everything. The autopsy confirmed that Gwen and Louis had been killed around 2 p.m. on December 10th. So why did Janice wait 48 minutes before texting her parents for help? And then there was her story about hiding under the bed. She claimed she had locked the door to her room, staying silent until the intruders left. But there was a problem. The room had been ransacked, and there were drops of red on the floor. So if the door was locked, how did the attackers get inside? And if they searched the room, how did they not see Janice? Then there was her phone. Janice told detectives she had turned it off, but a friend later told a very different story. He had called her after seeing her eerie Facebook post, and she answered, but there was no screaming, no panicked whispers, no background noise at all, just silence. If Janice was really in danger, wouldn't he have heard something? To him, it felt like a twisted prank, maybe just another one of her dramatic episodes. But to detectives, this was a massive red flag. It made them wonder, was this just a glimpse into how manipulative Janice really was? Had her friend already seen through her lies before? Because, strangely enough, he didn't even think to call for help. None of it added up. So forensics teams went back. This time, they combed through every inch of that house and the large stretch of land surrounding it. And a few feet from the house, near a creek, they found it. A trash bag containing red-stained clothes. Whoever wore them had tried to get rid of the evidence, tossing the bag into the water, hoping the current would carry it away. But it didn't. It got stuck on a branch, staying there like a taunting message to whoever found it. Detectives took the bag as evidence, and for the first time told the Magods they were free to clean the house, sell it, burn it, whatever they wanted. Lavella Lavella wasted no time. She wanted to be rid of that place. But as she packed up Janice's things, something strange caught her eye. A contact tracing form. But here's the thing, it wasn't in Janice's name. It belonged to Esmeraldo Canelo Jr., also known as Aldo, a 17-year-old sacristan at a local church and someone Janice had known since her time at the orphanage. But what was his connection to all of this?
Yeah.
The police wasted no time digging deeper into Aldo, and the more they uncovered, the darker the truth became. Multiple witnesses.
How dark are you getting, Annie? Like, how dark it gotta be? Like, I like watching Annie's show, but this is like the mess of the high of the high, the low of the low, but it can't be low. This is like the worst I can ever think of.
Near the Magad home on the day of the murders. One woman saw him dropping Janice off right before the attack. Another neighbor remembered a young man, later confirmed to be Aldo, asking for directions to the house that same morning. Then, on December 16th, 2021, the case cracked wide open. Janice confessed to her lawyer, detailing everything that happened. She admitted that she, her 21-year-old boyfriend, and Aldo had orchestrated the brutal murders of Gwen and Louis. And her motive? Jealousy. Janice hated Gwen and Louis, hated the way Cruz and Lavella doted on them, the love they received so effortlessly. To her, they weren't just siblings, they were obstacles, barriers standing between her and the life she always wanted. By eliminating them, she could finally take Gwen's place, the sole child of the Magad family, the center of all of their love and attention. And the chilling part, she didn't just fantasize about it, she talked about it. Screenshots later surfaced of her conversations with someone else.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Accepted after going through with it. In the end, she convinced herself that God would forgive her. That alone showed just how warped her thinking had become. On December 18th, just 2 days later, Janice formally confessed to the police. But like before, her story was full of inconsistencies. Still, the evidence was undeniable. Forensic teams had already traced the red-stained clothing found near the creek back to Aldo. When confronted, he didn't even try to run. Instead, he surrendered and confessed also. But the case wasn't closed yet. That same day, during an unrelated drug raid, police arrested another 17-year-old for possession of illegal substances. And that's when they found it, Gwen's missing phone. By tracing its serial number, investigators confirmed the device had been stolen after the murders. Janice, unable to sell it herself without raising suspicion, have given it to Aldo, who in turn sold it to the boy arrested in the raid. Fortunately for him, investigators ruled out any involvement in the crime. He had unknowingly bought a device linked to one of the most horrific murders in Philippine history.
That's why. So basically, what y'all seeing is that boy sold it to him. So then he can plant the evidence on him and get, wow.
And with that, the truth was out. Janice had played the long game, manipulation, deceit, and pure calculated evil. But in the end, she lost. Even after her confession, Janice stopped cooperating. She shut down, refusing to answer more questions, leaving huge gaps in the timeline of events. To this day, no one knows the full extent of what happened in that house. Not even Cruz and Lavella, the grieving parents who begged for answers. Police never disclosed the finer details of Janice or Aldo's confession. It's been speculated that the murders were even more brutal than she confessed, likely having Louis tied up and watching his sister as she was brutally murdered before him. And then there was the mystery of her so-called 21-year-old boyfriend. Not once was he ever identified, arrested, or charged. In fact, investigators suspected...
Come on. You're telling me that in this whole field, I didn't really realize that you had him tied up real tight, and he had to sit there and watch you kill his sister right in front of him before you go and slice him worse than his sister? Wow. That's why y'all say his blood was fresh and her blood was still slowly fading away with Ricky's mail.
He never even existed, just another one of Janice's lies. As the case gained traction, Janice became an internet sensation, but not in the way she wanted. People compared her to the character from the 2009 horror movie Orphan, a seemingly innocent orphan girl who turns out to be a psychotic adult woman with a rare growth condition.
Y'all didn't watch that show? That movie? Watch that movie? Then come back to this video and then in the comments or on my Instagram, go and tell me what y'all comparison about it. Is it really compared to it? Cause it actually do. But I want to hear y'all thoughts about it.
On murdering the family that took her in. The parallels were eerie. She had come into the McGod's family home under the guise of needing love, only to tear them apart from the inside.
Right, in that Orphan movie,
the
right?
pain was unbearable.
One
We were
kid
so
survived
proud
in
when
that
he
movie.
adopted Janice because we thought
But
God was
this
using
one,
us to help this
none
young
of the
girl.
kids
It was a
survived.
blessing. But then this is what we get. In a heartbreaking twist, Janice's biological mother showed up at Gwen and Louise's funeral. Overcome with emotion, she broke down sobbing, apologizing over and over again, saying she felt immense guilt for what had happened. Cruz and Lavella, drowning in their own unimaginable grief, encouraged her to do something. Talk to Janice. She truly felt remorse. They urged her to convince Janice to come clean and tell the whole truth. So acting on their request, Janice's mother went to see her at the social welfare department, but Janice refused to meet her, and just like that, the door was shut. Officials eventually ordered her to leave when she couldn't provide enough proof that she was, in fact, Janice's biological mother. In March 2022, Janice and Aldo were tried separately, but handed the same fate. 32 years behind bars with no chance of parole. By the time they walk free, they'll be 50 years old. Unlike Gwen and Louis, they'll still have life ahead of them, but justice was served.
Bruh, I'm still trying to process all that. That story was beyond distributing. Like, that's some evil energy. What do y'all think? Was this preventable? Was she just born this way? Let me know in the comments because I'm really curious what y'all think about this one. If you rock with this reaction, go ahead and hit that like button, smash subscribe if you haven't already, and tap that bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. This is Reaction LJ, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Stay safe and trust your gut out here. Fair. Peace.